Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Inflection Point, where we share stories about entrepreneurs and how they've been able to make it and be successful, their stories of challenges, of growth, and how they have managed to roll with the punches, as the Americans say. So today, I'm very, very excited to have Kibe John here with me.
Hello.
And Ebby Gatamu as well. I met Kibe, I think it's around 4 years ago, when we were on a project, a program that was being run by GIZ that was supporting startups. And I was part of the expert mentors on this startup program. But when I met Kibe, he was actually putting together a platform for gig workers to offer them loans. That's what I remember. But I know he's
Yeah.
going to correct me
Yeah.
and tell me exactly what he was doing, because the company that him and Ebby run is called Cladfy. And how it started off versus how it's looking right now is very different. But I'm very, very pleased. And I keep saying this every time I meet you guys. I'm like, I am so proud of
you.
how far you've come. And it's so good that today we're going to be able to hear your story about how you moved from the initial thoughts for Cladfy to where you are now. So welcome very much, Ebby. Welcome, Kibe.
Thank you.
I think I want to ask first that you introduce yourselves, talk a little bit about Cladfy and what it does, what the platform does, what the startup does, and then we'll get into the conversation. Let me start with you, Ebby. Introduce yourself.
All right. So my name is Ebby Gatamu, and I'm the CEO of Cladfy. And Cladfy is a Kenyan fintech that has built last mile lending infrastructure for lenders of the informal sector. So the informal sector is made up of small businesses, border riders, market vendors, neighborhood merchants, that kind of small business. And there's a category of lenders that actually lend them working capital for loans because they typically don't go to banks or traditional lenders. So that category of lenders, we've built software that enables those lenders to do two things. Manage the life cycle of the loan, so figure out who's supposed to pay what, when, how much, and then credit profile, just decide amongst the 100 people that want a loan, who qualifies for a loan and who doesn't quite just yet. So that's what we do in a nutshell.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. And
Yeah.
you, Kibe?
Hey, I'm Kibe. That's John Kibe. I'm the CTO and co-founder at Cladfy. So I get to lead the tech team. I write the software that powers the solutions that we give to our clients.
Yeah. Me, what I remember is when I met you
Yeah.
and you're building this software, you were trying to figure out gig platform people. I think we
Yes.
had plumbers on there.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that time. I know it's about 4 or 5 years ago.
Right. Seems like an eternity.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What happened is it's in 2021, right?
Yes.
And we're coming out of COVID.
Yes.
And everyone is trying to reset their lives or maybe bounce back. And so for me, I was 4th year at uni, and I think my friends and I were looking at, where can we get some credit for whatever reason, right? And going online as usual, we found there's like everyone lending, everyone money. And we were wondering, how do we get a loan from, say, a big bank, as a student, or how do you get a loan, say, from a digital lender, right? And we realized that it made more sense to have a database of lenders where I can go and compare who has the best rate, what are the periods, things like that. And so as a software engineer, quickly came up with a simple database, a simple web UI, shared the link to a few of my friends. And that's how it started. And then immediately after that, I applied to the same program.
Yeah.
Yeah, and during the mentorship and all that, we were tasked to go out and scope the market, look at the clients, and then we realized it's a little bit harder to get money from consumers.
Yes.
And so we approached the lenders who we had listed on our platform. So we had listed them without, their consent or anything. It
Yeah.
was just web crawling, get data,
Yeah.
put it in one place.
Yeah.
Then we realized we might actually make money if we refer a lender to a borrower to one of these lenders, right? And when we approached them, they told us, you can give us as many clients as you have, but it would make more sense to give us pre-qualified clients.
Yeah.
And so these are like new terms. We did not know what is pre-qualified and
Yes.
what is credit scoring, what is all this they're talking about. then as a software engineer, I knew that we can automate all these. What are they saying? Pre-qualified. What is this?
Yeah.
So went back through the program as well. Came up with a software that was able to take someone's mobile money statement, bank statement, look at their cash flows, and then the lender would say, oh, this client can actually take $100 loans or maybe $20, compared to whatever they're applying for. Yeah, so that's where the program got us.
Yes.
And during the program, that's how I met Ebby. So that
Yes.
was like 6 months of me doing myself alone with a few friends and
Yeah.
all that. And met Ebby, and we became a company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, sounds good. Sounds good. So why did you decide to partner with Ebby? Like, what was that thing? And I'll ask you the same question. Why you decided to partner with Kibe?
Yeah, so this is actually my second startup.
Aha.
So I had one, in uni as well. I think while in school you have like this comfort zone of I can always bounce back to my education and
Yes.
get a career afterwards or something like that, right? So my first startup failed spectacularly, I think because of being a first-time founder. So this time around, I joined the program because I knew I wanted help, right? And so as a software engineer, I knew I would cover the tech element. And when I met Ebby, she was super excited to just hear what I had, come up with. And then she's come in with a lot of commercial, marketing, business-oriented expertise.
Yes.
And to me, that was a good match.
Yeah, to complement your tech, software engineering expertise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think that's good. And Ebby, why did you join Kibe? Like, what was that about?
Actually, when I met Kibe, it was not the intention,
Yeah.
like to go into business with him. I was actually struggling with a personal problem. So at the time, I was working in another company.
Yes.
I was making the most money I've ever made.
Yes.
At a job. I
Yeah.
was so happy.
Yeah.
Thriving. But actually, it was around November of 2021. So I was taking stock of, okay, so what have I done with my money this year? And I had a feeling like I could have. I knew generally I've paid rent, I've paid for expenses, but I'm just like, I feel like I could have saved more, I could have invested more, but I couldn't tell where I should have cut back.
Yes.
So I was actually in the process of, I'd asked for all my statements for the year from my bank, from my M-Pesa, and because I'm actually an accountant, so I'm comfortable with Excel, so I'd exported them on Excel, and I was just doing some pivots and trying to figure out where to place what. And then Roy, who's a part of our founding team and advisors, he was like, actually, you see this little process you're doing here, that guy over there has written a script that can do this.
Yeah.
So at the time I was actually in Kigali. I'd come to work there for the GIZ summit.
Yes.
Program.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with another tech startup. I'd come to see, okay, so what is all this fintech you guys are talking about?
Yes.
So that's when I was doing all of that on the side. And then that's what Ray was like. He pointed out Kibe and said, he's written a script that can do that in seconds. And I was like, what? I've been struggling with this thing, trying to understand for quite a bit, like for the week. That's what I was working on. So Kibe did that for me, and I was like, oh my God. Like, this is amazing, Yeah. And then now we just started talking, and I was like, this is interesting. Like, who would be interested in this kind of thing? And then just maybe like 8 or so months later, thereabout, then I was like, okay, I've left this other business. I think I can start on this with Kibe. Then we started just, okay, where do we start? And we have this thing that's powerful. Where do we take it? What do we do with it? Yeah, and that's how I found myself as a fintech founder, but it wasn't by design, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So now, where would you say that the organization is right now? What are you guys now doing?
Right. Yeah. So we started off with that software. So we're like, okay, so if who looks at statements, bank statements, M-Pesa statements for a living, and Kibe was already doing some work with lenders. So we're like, okay, let's start there. So we started offering this software to lenders. And at the time, I think that was like about 3 years ago now. Yeah. I would say we were early in the market, For the segment we're targeting, I wouldn't say it was not a priority, so to speak. Like, they're doing it, and they're doing it manually. Like, literally we'd go speak to a client and we'd speak to a loan officer. They're sitting there with printed statements and a
and
ruler.
big books.
And
Yeah.
a ruler, and they're going through this, and
Calculators.
they're just, and calculators, and you're
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? Here is some software and all of that. But then they were not ready. You know, the guys are used to doing this, and they're wondering, first of all, who are you? And, you know,
Yeah.
where are you coming from? You know, and what business do you have? You know, and what are you going to do? So we were early. So we were like, okay, how can we legitimize ourselves in the market, package ourselves into a business? And that's when we got into, we're like, okay, I think we can get into an accelerator even for us to know what it is that we're doing. Because initially we were just talking to customers, trying to give them a solution, but it wasn't really a business. Like we were just testing out stuff. So we were like, okay, I think we need an accelerator to just help us scope everything and put everything in its place. And that's when we joined Techstars actually at the very beginning. And then they helped us, figure out who is the customer, who's not what is the problem, that we're trying to solve. And then we realized, so who we want to solve for really, like our mission is just to increase capital for that segment, the informal segment. But then where ordinarily you would try and lend directly. So for us, our route is to provide the software to the lenders, to provide lenders with a way to serve that segment. So the people who know how to serve it, you continue serving them, but then we'll serve you. What do you need from us? So for us, we are focused on that segment, providing the infrastructure that is needed to channel capital to that segment. So that's our focus.
Yeah. And what I really like about what you guys do is you actually are going for an underserved segment. Yeah. So I think even from my time in banking, all of us, I've always felt like all the banks go towards the same segment, looking to serve the same segment. And there are all these informal people who are doing a lot of work and good work and driving impact as well. I'm always like, if you can't buy a tomato from Mama Mboga, not everybody can go to the high-end supermarkets, and not everyone can buy furniture from the high-end furniture shops. So I really like the fact that you go for underserved markets, and that's your focus, because that's where a big difference is going to be made.
Right.
All right, so you did Techstars, and then, so that's like 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
Okay. And
So
then,
then
what else has happened in your evolution journey?
Yeah. So we, Kibe has been working really hard with the tech team so we started with credit profiling, and then we were like, okay, I think they need a lot more. There's a lot more that can be done here. But I think when we were focusing on the problem, we realized that there are several issues. Credit profiling is just one. But then one of the biggest challenges that these lenders have is accessing capital for their own lending. For them, money is stock. That's what they sell to clients, right?
Interesting.
So for them, unlocking capital for themselves is also a big problem. So we started looking at, okay, so how are we going to solve this problem? So, and it's a big problem, and it's a complex problem. So where we are on the journey is we're like, okay, so if you're going to convince a bank, for instance, to fund your loan book, they'll ask you to prove that you have a loan book. You can't give them an Excel document.
Yeah.
So,
or maybe you shouldn't.
Yes.
You shouldn't give them an Excel.
Yes, it should be like an excerpt of from somewhere. So we're like, okay, so how are you tracking these loans? How are you doing all of this? And we're like, okay, I think we need like a loan management software that can do that, and that's where Kibe stepped in. Maybe you could talk a bit about it.
Yeah. So I think as a tech company, as a fintech, so tech has always been, the solution that we bring out here. And since Techstars all the way to today, I think every year we get to listen to our clients and they ask for features. We prioritize that. And of course, we bring our innovation with all this hype about AI. We are into that as well, but very, very, very conservatively, because we are building what our client asks for. For example, some of the features they will ask is, can I ask a natural language processing question in a way that, for example, I have an M-Pesa statement. I want to know how much money has this client spent on night out?
Yes.
On maybe from Wednesday to Thursday of last month.
Sherehe monies.
Exactly. So our AI is able to, you can ask that and you get the feedback. So that's part of the amazing tech that we have.
Yes.
And of course, the machine learning model that is able to say, there's an M-Pesa statement plus a bank statement plus another statement of this Mama Mboga, as they call them. And here is a combined cash flow report that now the lender is able to take in and say, okay, now can I make a decision out of this? Yeah, so the tech is evolving, and it's 100% coming from what the client needs.
Yeah.
That's what we ship to them, and
I think that's awesome.
I mean, on the commercial side, what we've seen is, outside of tech, there's other opportunities, for us to serve our clients who are lenders, better. So on the one hand, we have tech, and on the other hand, we have helping them access liquidity. So working with potential liquidity partners, people who have money, and they're looking to channel it to that segment, and are looking for which lenders can we work with. So we have, all these lenders that are working with us, and we're like, okay, this lender is doing a lot of work with farmers.
Yes.
This lender is working a lot with bodabodas or in the transport space. This lender is working a lot with SMEs. So then you can channel these funds to those SMEs, but you don't have, as the owner of the fund, maybe you're not a lender, you're not structured as that. You can work with, our portfolio of lenders to channel that capital to the final customer. So we're working with partners who have funds and are looking to deploy them through lenders. So we provide, the software that does that, and then also connect these lenders to, that stock that you're talking about, those money, the financing is what they sell. So that's how we are evolving now. Yeah.
I really like that. So if I was to ask you now as founders, what your maybe one key lesson has been on your journey, what would you say that would be?
Wow.
I know there are many
There are
lessons.
so many.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Okay, you can tell me two.
I think for me, I would say the biggest one has been, I would say, grit. Just being able to stick with it. Yeah. It is so hard. And sometimes you're so tempted to just, this thing is so hard, it's not working. Okay, let me just, this new thing is coming up.
Yeah.
I want to try this. But then I think one of the lessons that I've learned, and I've worked, I think, in 4 startups now. One of the lessons is, there's a cycle. It's like it's like a cycle of the founder journey. There's how it flows, and there's just the natural way in which it will happen, regardless of what it is that you do.
Yeah.
Even if it's hot now, it's going to get to a place where it's not so hot, and you're going to have the same challenges. So I would say grit to just stick with what you've seen. Of course, the wisdom to pivot if you need to pivot.
Yes.
But I would say that, if you have a vision and you have grit as a founder, in the beginning, everything is so messy. It's so messy. You don't even know what you're doing in the beginning. But you have this vision, and you need to have the grit to just stick with it and keep at it. And with time, like what you need to do just finds you when you're there.
Yeah.
But if you moved on to something else too quickly, then you're restarting the clock, so to speak. So, and I think that's one of the reasons that founders just give up, because you can get caught up with, this is not working, let me just start something else. But if you stick with it, I'm finding that the luck, what they call luck, will find you on the path. The people, the resources that you need will find you as you stick with it and keep going.
It.
Yeah.
So the opportunity and the luck will find you as you keep on doing what you're doing. Huh?
Yeah.
I love it. Love it. What about you, Kibe? Any lesson?
Yeah, I think maybe to add on that, I think it's a mantra that we found in. It's survive long enough to be lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't give up, as she mentioned. Don't give up immediately, but also know when to maybe tweak or stop.
Yes.
But you should probably survive long enough to get lucky. And I think my second one would be, maybe you're taught this involuntarily, but the team, or you need to be very careful who you first begin and start the whole venture with, and then who you hire, because at some point you might have to let someone go. Yeah. Because maybe you were so ambitious or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think team is something that you get to learn. Every time you bring someone on board, you will learn a lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's life as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, whoever you marry or you date also, it impacts your life. So whoever you bring into your startup and your business also impacts. I think that's really great. My last question is around the future. So where do you guys see yourselves going with the startup, with Cladfy?
Yeah.
Big dreams, big
Big
dreams.
dreams.
So I think for us, I see us evolving to play in two main areas. So I think our mission is very, core to us. So for us, we, our intention and what's kept us just on this path is to see that there's capital flowing to that segment.
Yes.
It's a segment that's employing 80% of all Kenyans, and in fact, most of Africans. In Kenya alone, it drives like 35% of our GDP. In sub-Saharan Africa, it's like at least 55% of the GDP, but only gets about 20% of the capital available. So for us, that's where we want to play. So how we're going about that is in two ways: with the tech, which is very critical, because then that just legitimizes that small business. So we help that small business to just articulate what it is that they do, if we just run their statements, for instance. But then what I would say the bigger problem and where we see ourselves is being this asset manager or fund that then now has the tech and the network of lenders to then channel all this money and this capital to people who are mission aligned with us, to channel that money into that segment. So then we have the network of lenders, we have the tech, but then what's missing is the money. And for us, we're seeing that's where we'll play, just having a fund or having access to funders, just people who have the same vision as us and want to channel capital there, and then just showing them how and demystifying how they can do that.
Yeah. And because you're creating that visibility
Right.
to these segments, then it's easier and more, you're also building trust. So you're building the blocks for it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And not just for Kenya, actually.
Yeah.
So we see this across
You're
the
going
continent.
across Africa.
That's where we
I
see
love
ourselves,
it.
yeah.
Yes.
We did a lot of research in Nigeria. The market is very similar.
Okay.
So I think it's an African problem.
Yes.
It's an African challenge. And once we've figured out this market, and then we see ourselves really growing beyond this market. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. I've
Thank
really
you for
enjoyed
having
this
us.
conversation. It's been great.
Yeah.
I think the one key highlight or takeout that I have from this conversation is you must evolve. I like that. From where you started, Cladfy, to where you're at. I liked that, which is my second point, that you are able to find each other. So finding the right partner.
Thank
Yeah.
you. for being
I've
part
told
of
you.
that. Thank
I've
you.
said
We're
it's
part
like
of our story.
every relationship. Yes, I'm glad I was part of your
Yeah.
story.
Thank you so much.
So finding the right person in your startup and in your business is crucial. And thirdly, listening to your customer, because every time you guys are talking, you're going back to the customers, you're listening, you're improving. You're not really riding the hype wave, but only producing or coming up with things that make sense.
Yeah.
And fourthly, I think the most exciting thing is you're looking to impact Africa.
Yeah.
So I hope you will, and I know you will. Actually,
We
know you will.
will. We will.
And I'm looking very much forward to hearing all the amazing success stories.
Thank you.
So thank you so very much
Yeah.
Thank you.
for joining me today.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you.
Likewise.
Thank you. So I hope everyone watching this or listening to this has pulled out even many more nuggets than I have been able to summarize. And I look forward to seeing you again next time. Well, we'll be talking to another entrepreneur and listening to how he or she, it could be a she or it could be a he, but I know it's a he, so how he's pivoted and how he's been able to build his startup and how he's also been able to embrace change and have a growth mindset. So looking very much forward to next time. See you, everyone. Bye-bye.